from their encounters with races from other planets. The information is the activation. Let's awaken this world together. We are the forever students, and we will not be silent. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. Pretty well. Ooh, welcome everybody to Full Spectrum Universe. My name is Rob Yox. This is the Embattled broadcast that explores the past to remain in the present, to dictate the terms of our future. Hello, hello, and welcome. It has been a couple of days since we did the Paul Wallace episode. We will be having Aggie Nost coming on this Friday. I think we're going to make it so we can have some guests come through more a little bit. We're probably going to schedule Friday or Wednesday shows for the guests as well, because I get off of work rather early. So I see everybody's here. I see Auric is here. John's here. Selena, the Andromedan, Nurul, Amesmoth, Nancy, Kelly. Welcome, 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 everybody. John, nice to see everybody. Nice to see everybody. So the question remains, did you feel the shift? Did you feel the shift? Now, I was going to do this show yesterday, and then some big news came out yesterday, right? And it made me take a moment of pause to incorporate some of what was happening yesterday. It was more of the mainstream media style of information coming out, but it's again another precarious situation where we're seeing certain veils being lifted and certain things happening. And this is kind of what this shift is, right? So we've talked in detail, and we're going to talk a little bit of the astrological sense as well. This is not going to be a slideshow presentation. It's going to be more of a conversation, because it has to be, we have to go through this properly, right? We have to go through this slowly and to essentially go through everything that we're thinking is happening right now. Of course, here's the crazy part, right? I got an itch in the back of my head, but shifts can happen on a grand scale where the entire globe goes into a shift, or there can be personal shifts. I think this is more of a spiritual community shift, and astrology kind of lines up with that and what we're seeing, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well, plus the process of seeing some of these numbers that are popping up, which can be indicative of a shift, right? So this past week, I myself, and I think the spiritual community went through a shift, right? With the unveiling of Paul's book, we're seeing a lot of things happening. And again, if you haven't gone to Amazon or Paul Anthony Wallace's website and purchased his book, trust me, the first 30 pages will blow your mind, right? What he's done in this book is he's reprocessed a lot of the information that we all thought we knew, right? And it really gets my brain going when I read this book, and how they really have tried to whitewash a lot of the history and create a masculine centered sort of theology for multiple religions, right? And this is part of my spiritual shift. Now, I'm going to tell you a story in a little bit, and we're going to get into that story. And it has to do with a little bit of meditation, but also has to do with like this waking moment that I had where things were essentially coming to me in a way that they've come to me before, but it took a lot more concentration. It's sort of like something opened up for me, and the ancestral connection and my archetype of archiving and things like that. And my mission became so present. So this is going to be a little bit of my personal experience in the last week that has been just off the charts, out of control, right? I don't usually talk about my journey through this because I like to relay information, but I think this is pertinent to what we've been talking about, what we've been doing, some of the things we've been exploring. So before we go any further, like, share, subscribe, please, and leave a comment when this is finished. We are trying to beat the algorithmic bugs. The episode we did with Paul, as you all know, has done a tremendous amount to lift us out of the muck of 17,200 to get to 17,300 and some change, which is truly incredible. but we were in a funk there where we weren't gathering new people for a while. It was really wild for me to see too. I was like, this doesn't like it's not the usual analytics that we're seeing. So, but nonetheless, it's not really about the analytics. It's about connection and how we're all here together and we're building these moments in history. And history will be dictated by us who are the bearers of the future, right? We are the ones, the torch bearers or the baton holders that are taking this into the next level. I see, I see Gray is here. Nicole, Sugar Bees made it. Nancy, great to see you. She says she just got Paul Wallace's book today and started reading it. Tell me, Nancy, did you get to page 30? And let us know in the comments what you thought up to that point, or even the first couple pages, right? Absolutely incredible. I see Kelly is here too. And so let's get into a little bit of the discussion on why this shift is occurring, right? What is happening that is creating this shift? There's multiple reasons why shifts happen. We could talk about veils being lifted. We could talk about interdimensional connection to something. I mean, there's so many different avenues, but every independent light body or an independent consciousness that is part of a collective has many, many avenues and many, many different ways to almost induce shifts, right? And inducing a shift is a little bit more harder than just it happening naturally. Well, I had a natural shift. And I my first thought was, let's go to astrology. What is astrology saying for the shifts of 2023? We've talked about 2022 being the year of the truth seeker, and we talk about 2023 as the year of accountability. And all around us, things and people and ourselves are being held accountable for the rights or the wrongs that have happened during our truth seeking phases, right? So this is something that is sort of what plays into what the story I'm going to tell in a little bit. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. But before we get there, I want to talk about, 2023 itself. It's time to really stop and pay attention, right? We have to pay attention to all the problems in the world and in this current paradigm. And this isn't like a fixed paradigm. This paradigm is crumbling around us. This is what I talk about all the time, right? So we must starve it of our attention and begin feeding these new paradigms based in love and community. And it's time to create the future that we want. And we're going to go through 10 steps that'll help you to get to that point, right? What do we know about committing to this future and committing to our spiritual growth, which is the first one. But before we get there, too, we talked about this 100 times already. There are three paradigms currently in play right now, right? And there's two crumbling paradigms. One is seen from a ideology that is centered in cultural aspects, just to be on the safe side of what I'm saying, or the induced mainstream aspects of life. Then there is the spiritual side of things, where our community kind of falls into, and then there's a third that is slowly but surely rising up from in between both of them. Now, the two main ones we talked about are crumbling. They're dissolving. They're dissipating. It's becoming this there's only one plausible timelined future where we can either dive in or crumble with either side of these paradigms, right? Or these specific timelines. Now, the one that is more mainstream driven, it has to crumble away. And we're not really a part of that. We kind of hide underneath the radar with that one. What happens is those are the people who watch all of the mainstream media, soak it up, and literally spew talking points to essentially satisfy themselves without any further research or any deepening into the context of what they're really doing or how they're doing it. Now, then there's the spiritual community, which is sort of like the spiritual side of things. These are the theologies of religion. This is sort of where our community lies, but our community is sort of shedding, right? It's shedding that paradigm and transferring to the center paradigm that's slowly rising up, right? Because there's a lot of things that we thought that were somewhat titled to the mainstream, but with narratives and people coming forward with their information, it's sort of crumbling around us to where we get to kind of move into this center space where we're flowing up with this new information. So it's taking us for a ride into this new paradigm. So we have almost like a bridge to the new paradigm, which is really cool. But so let's talk about some of the ways that we can essentially dissolve the rest of that paradigm off and kind of keep keep giving attention to where it needs to be given to. And we're going to talk about some of those places and points, right? So one is the commitment to spiritual growth. Those who will prioritize their spiritual development will notice profound shifts. We will experience turmoil inside as this growth is happening, yet reap the benefits as we shift into the higher vibrations. So we'll be faced with the dealings of the lower energies, such as manipulation, being super goal driven, competitiveness, anger, force, hostility, greed, materialism, ego, overproductivity, worry, anxiety, quick fixes, shame, drama, guilt, and fear. Those who face all of the above mentioned within themselves will shift to a co creative timeline with values of sharing and caring, right? That's the first step out of that sort of we call that shadow work, right? Looking at these aspects of ourselves, we call that shadow work. And what that does is it makes our energy and our vibrational energy more less diluted with these ego driven sort of vibrations, right? Or these lower vibrations. We're fine tuning our vibratory state to resonate at the highest vibration that we possibly can. That's why this is important. This is super important. So, as we're working through ourselves, when we bring attention to these things, we shed them because we work through them. It's who we are. I see somebody say Rockers is here. I didn't see Rockers in the chat, but Rockers, if you're here, more power to you. What's up, buddy? Line is here, and Sept 26 is here. You know, let's all stay on this positive mindset and the love what we're talking about too, because this is how we kind of raise our collective vibration too. So there's more to this. We can keep going, but the next step would be to end to understanding suffering. There's an end that has to come to understanding suffering, right? Much time over the past 2 years was devoted to understanding suffering within our lives. Most of us have gone through trying times and experiences of losing loved ones, be it through passing or through breakups in romantic relationships, things like that. Some have financial setbacks or deterioration in their health. In 2023, this suffering will be replaced with joy, right? In this year, this is going to be a transgressional change, and it's going to be inspire new learning and a sense of togetherness in building this brighter future. This is why we say the monikers that we say, like, explore the past to remain in the now, but dictate the terms of our future. So the third one is the golden age. And we're entering this golden age where we realize our true power and and be a creative point in our lives that are marked by this freedom and strength, right? The fruits of our labor in the spiritual communities and thought leaders and other institutions that have worked hard to uplift humanity over the past years will come to show in no uncertain terms. And this will inspire others to also be brave in their endeavors. This is something that we try and put forward all the time, right? We're trying to uplift ourselves to be that beacon so that others can sort of, you know, lend us that we can lend them our energy so that they can follow suit, right? It's so this is how we create a chain reaction of awakening, right? And it's this moment, right? And I think that we're seeing this right now, and it's all for us to see, right? So we have a question. I'm going to address the question. It says, "What if we don't want any of the options?" I'm just saying it occurred to me. We really don't have a choice in this game. We have to suffer yet be joyful and learn to play by the rules. I will wholeheartedly disagree with you, right? We don't have to suffer. We don't have to learn to play by the rules. We can put this properly. We can use their matrices to instill different values and help others to gain access to an alleviated state, which in turn gives them the ability to dictate the terms of their life. So I don't believe that we're stuck. I think that there is a lot of people who feel that way because they don't see that light at the end of the tunnel, right? And SEP 26, we're not going to be saying those types of things in the chat, right? So saying those things in the chat will get this channel banned. We don't want to do that. So let's just take it easy with that. Anyway, what we're talking about here is essentially it's moving ourselves and knowing that we're moving ourselves. This is an intentional motion, right? It's not something that we're just going to wait to happen. It's intentional. We've done our work. We've done the research. We've gone through the shadow work. We're trying to, you know, we're really trying to do some things here. And, I don't want to go crazy with that in the chat, but if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be. Nobody's saying you have to be here. So you can say whatever you want. You're trying to take me away from the show, and that's fine, my friend. I wish you nothing but the best. You can see your way out the door, and don't let it hit you in the ass on the way out. So anyway, when we're trying to work through some of these things, we're really trying to become, we're really trying to bring forth the best versions of ourselves. And by doing that, you will see these transitions. And it's slowly but surely happening. And so we're not stuck and we don't have to play by their rules, right? And it can be this moment, right? And this is a perfect this is perfect here, right? When you're saying this. But you're tired. We are the community that will lift you up, will be the pillars underneath you to hold that foundation, to bask in this moment of love. And you'll be able to essentially resonate with us and we'll hold you up, right? And what that does is it will bring some sort of semblance of family to your life. And that will King of Kings, good to see you. It will help you. It will help you for sure. For sure it will help you. So it's okay. We're gonna handle this no problem, right? do 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 do. That's all. Anyway, sorry about that, everybody. It's okay. People don't like when they start to bring negativity into the chat and we address it. People don't like it, so we're not going to lose our heads over it. We're just going to put you in timeout. I don't like downing free speech, but saying things that are ridiculous and obscene is not really a way we come across to help anybody, right? We're here to help each other. We're not here to call each other names and ad hominem attacks, but it's okay. It's all right. Anyway, back to what we're talking about here. So these shifts are happening, and maybe fresh face, you're due for a shift. Maybe it's time for, you know, it's all good, Sugar Bee. I took care of it. But maybe it's time for you to resound in the community and kind of lend your energy to the community, and the community will lend energy to you. And what that'll do is it'll hopefully refine you and help you see past some of the things that happen when we're walking through this darkness that we call reality right now, right? And oh, Star Child, we haven't seen Star Child in a while. Good to see you. But this is something that we have to work on ourselves too. Like it's not just, but there's a structure and a family in place for you if you so choose to walk that path with us and really become part of the community and hang out and go through this information. Sometimes you might just be waiting to hear that one piece of information that sets you free, right? That's kind of boom, sets you into this tailspin of alleviating those things from the matrix, right? And it's pretty I get it, fresh face. It's a lot. It's a lot. And we're we're here. So let's move forward, and we're going to address this for you. And hopefully, you stick around for a while because I think that there's a lot that we can do to help each other, right? And I think there's a lot of things that we can say to really to really bolster this energy right now. And hopefully, on the other side of this episode, you'll feel like you've got something out of it, and maybe it'll help you in this endeavor and helping you wherever we can. That's all we want to do is help each other. This is how we do it. So let's go to number 4, which is collaboration. We are ever more understanding the importance of overcoming crisis and difficult times as a group. It's pretty wild that we just had Fresh Face say that, and now we're reading this, right? There's no such thing as coincidence. You're meant to hear this right now. And we're feeling a renewal and a surge of hopefulness as we move forward in 2023, and an awareness increase. And we make choices and take decisive action towards dreams and fulfilling our soul's purpose, which will lead us to number 5. That's turning inward. Many will turn their lives upside down in a good way with 360 degrees of change, right? This will be the result of an unexpressed creativity during former years. So, in April of this year, which we're in right now, we shall take from our past only what we need to move forward with vigor. This is a time to let go of what no longer serves us and brings fresh new things and people and ideas to life. This may also be a rebirth of current relationships, business, and health, right? So 2023 may be the year of introspection as we continue to integrate the conscious and subconscious, mental and spiritual, right? More information will also be coming to the light as awareness keeps increasing, which is something that we have to sort of guide this information out, which is why we're doing this. And this information is imperative to come out, which is why we're doing what we do right now. So I see Jay Rocco is here too. Good to see you. Timothy Thiel, good to see you. You know, and I think that we're adding some new members to the community, and I love seeing that. I'm glad you're saying that, Fresh Face. I never thought you would. I know that there are moments where it becomes so arduous, and the muck is. Greg is here. Great to see you, Greg. That this muck is so thick, right? And there's always sunlight to dry it out, and then in a few steps we'll be able to walk on top of it, right? And I really, really love that we're coming together, and anybody who needs that help can also reach out to me at my email address, which is robyox2525 at gmail.com. And we can help you there too. Prince is here. Good to see you, man. Everybody's here tonight. We're having a really great session of just conversation. I'm really enjoying this. So let's keep going because I want to get to my story of what shifted for me, right? And I can give you a specific of the when, the how, the what, and the information that came through, which is going to be it's going to blow your mind, right? So we're going to get there. Now I'm going to save that towards the second half of the show. Hopefully, everybody sticks around. So number 6 is new Earth energies. 13 new energies are brought online for those wanting to evolve on the path of spiritual evolution. These can be integrated with our DNA code. Now, this is something that came in this shift, right? I'm saying this because this is something that I was being shown in this shift. What felt like 40 minutes for me was probably about 3 seconds. And it happened that fast. I'm going to tell you, and it's going to be crazy. So let's keep going. So, number 7, living by our own principles during challenging times upcoming, right, that are going to have, we will have the opportunity to anchor in our own self truth and live by our own principles. This will come forth in a deep connection and understanding of our spiritual and physical selves as a unit of one. Hmm. That's the hardest part in ascension. The mental and the physical are one. What happens in the mental, then again happens in the physical. That's it. It's very difficult to grasp that concept. And I know it's easy to say, but for me, this was one of the hardest struggles, right? So I'm saying it from my perspective. And it will become increasingly evident who is on the path of ascension and who chooses to continue with the victim and entitled mentality in the matrix. The ones who will choose the path, right, will fall into deeper depths of feeling stuck. And I mean the path of the matrix, right? There can be no more tolerance for lower vibrations and, you know, I don't want to say conspiracy theories, but the things that don't hold sway without stuff that's kind of backed up a little bit by what we understand and know, right? So inventions and innovations of light leaders will continue to come into the spotlight as well. And when I say conspiracy theory, we deal in conspiracy theories a lot, right? So this is we don't mean the conspiracy theories of the explorers, right? Or the watchers. We're talking about the conspiracy theories of mainstream media, the narratives being lied and given to us. And this is a perfect segue to talk about what is happening what happened on Monday, right? So many of us who watch CNN and Fox News, whatever your news of choice is, you may not watch any of it. I try not to watch any of it. Sometimes I do, but it it was shown to us that the people who are inherently displaying their truths, whether it was from a far left perspective or a far right perspective, were were basically disavowed from either of their companies. And that is a precedent, right? What does that mean? That means that they are getting rid of the outspoken voices to create these narratives that are going to be regurgitated over all forms of media. And they're going to basically try and regain the power that they once had because of these political pundits, no matter what your leaning is, left, right, or center. They brought something to the table that was different than every other anchor or news affiliate. So they also were the people who didn't sell out in the way that others did. So these truths that they stood in were representative of the two sides, and the two sides essentially giving up, right? They're giving up to capitulate to the uniparty or to the one narrative that will prove to be the most divisive, divisive, deceitful narrative that can come forward from these companies. So we saw that, and that was a shift in itself. It was the powers that be not wanting to admit their defeat already and grasping at these last vestiges to try and capitulate and keep you in that matrix, right? This is what they tried to do. But there were so many people who were above or rose above this instance, which was the best thing to see, right? There were so many people coming out, which is a benchmark for us. It's a benchmark. So many people coming out and saying, well, we know what the real thing is. That's a lot of BS on both sides. That to me was a moment that was like we've shifted. We've shifted and then now it is nail in the coffin time. We've shifted. That was a spectacular moment. It really was. As bad as it may have looked for us, it was a bellwether, right? It was a bellwether of what we knew they would try and do. So this is another benchmark for us to sit there and say, we know which way it's going to go, right? And I'm saying this in very general terms because we may do an episode about this kind of stuff off of YouTube. It will be a webinar style show, right? We're going to do a few more of those over the coming weeks as well. One show at a time off the platform, so we could be completely unabated and uncensored, which is going to it's going to blow your socks off with how much I curse on a regular basis, as terrible as it is. But you might get a little shocked, but it's okay. But we also have the energetics workshop coming up as well. We're going to be probably this weekend, we're going to display the links. And really, what we're doing is we're going to be talking about frequency and tonal, and we're going to break it all down. This is going to be frequency and tone. So, sound healing, essentially. And it's going to bring us into this really, really amazing place, right? So, let's do that. And we're gonna display that link later in the week. We're gonna start having the tickets on sale for that. We're also gonna be displaying a link for the free event coming up as well. There's gonna be a couple of speakers plus myself. And Star Child said something up here I wanted to read. And it says, "We're being totally blocked from any truth at the moment, from any and all who is involved, and always have been, just in a much slower way." Well, I agree in the mainstream media aspect of that. We are definitely there are truths being hidden all around us, right? And it's up to us to go inside and figure out what it all means, right? But let's keep going because we're at the half hour mark and I haven't really gone to this. So the next one is going to be oneness and abundance. As we anchor in the timeline of unity and abundance, we have the opportunity to experience a state of flow of true worthiness, right? This true worthiness is us believing that we're worthy, believing that we are a part of, and we supersede and we have the abundance, right? And when I say supersede, I don't mean in a cocky way, but we transcend is maybe a better way to put it. We transcend all of that, and we are worthy of living in that heightened consciousness spiritual body, right? Number 9, we're going to stay focused, and focused is staying in balanced. So, what to focus on is a daily spiritual practices, stay connected to nature, breathing exercises, spiritual support from light workers, partaking in life giving ceremonies, becoming aware of how we exercise our power, removing from our lives that which saps our energy, becoming aware of thoughts and other addictions that we may have, developing our imagination, having a good balance between alone time and connecting with others, and not fighting relationships that end as we evolve, right? This is huge, huge, huge. Let me take a sip of this coffee, or we're going to keep going. So, yes, our discernment skills are absolutely imperative. This is why we go over different incarnations of what history was and the different perspectives of the now, because we want to hone that discernment. That craft it cannot be duplicated by anything else. It is one of the most important and pertinent things that we can understand, and how our body reacts in that discernment. Very, very much so. Our body is a temple, and when the lie comes in, our body tells us, right? We know that. So, last but not least, number 10. This is looking forward, right? Trauma and limiting beliefs were removed to make space for us to shine through our unique skills and talents. Share these gifts with others. That's why we're doing Akashic readings for everybody who wants to do it. We're going to start those next week. I'm going to take one or two at a time, and we're going to go through it all. It's going to be absolutely amazing, right? I'm going to teach you how to do it yourself. You should only have to do it with me once to then be there and do it all alone and have complete access to it. If, of course, the first one's going to be free. If we have to keep doing it after that, we're going to put a price on it because of the time and energy it's going to take to go into it. But you shouldn't need me after the first one, right? The free one we're going to give you should be all you need. So be confident in your way, and Source will assist you. Focus on being service oriented and selfless in your ways. Our egos in this process of dying, and it is time to take ownership of our mission here on earth. Live in unity and no longer in your shadows. No growth comes without intentional effort and growing pains. So be ready to face anger, frustration, and despair as you make the purposeful effort to renew yourself in the coming months. And it is all requires one thing. It requires you to be brave. Be brave. Step out of your comfort zone. This is your moment to shine. I can't stress it enough. This is for everybody, right? It really is becoming, it really is a moment for all of reality, right? We're going to disseminate the reality that comes around us. And what we're going to do is we're going to build up the one that we want. That's what we're going to do. And it's going to be incredible. It's going to be incredible. And we don't have spaces for negativity, whether it's here or anywhere else, right? In our everyday lives. If people want to say things, let them. It's cool. Don't worry about it. You know, it's pretty crazy. And it's all right. It's all right to be mad. It's all right to be mad. It's all right to be frustrated. As long as we work through it. And I can see that there's somebody in the chat right now who's mad, talking crazy. It's all right. Now, I pray for you, man. I pray for you. I hope you find what makes you happy. Obviously, it's not what's here. But anyway, so let's get to the moment that I had, right? And I had almost missed it. I almost missed the window to shift. It was a really, 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 it was a really detailed moment for me, right? And if I didn't catch it, it wouldn't have happened the way it happened. And I would have been passed on a lot of things. So the other day, probably about 4 days ago, I was walking into work. And as many know, I don't really talk about what I do. And I'm not going to talk about what I do because of being on the internet and things like that. But I do a lot of lifting and a lot of heavy lifting of things, right? I do a lot with my body. It's a very physical job. So I'm walking into work and something about being there, there was something like an air of difference, like the air around me was different. And it was so different that I stopped for a second. It was a very hot day and it was getting humid, but it was right before the rain, right? So I stopped for a second and I look and I see the clouds on the outside of my job and the sun kind of coming through it. And usually I don't take notice of all of this so much when I'm walking into work, right? My mind's set. I'm going to work. Boom. We're going to do some labor. Let's get it. That's how I usually am. But for this moment, I stopped and I took a breath and I was like, whoa, okay, something feels different. When I start to feel that way, I start to look around. I start to try and notice things. I open my perception up. So I'm lifting the boxes. All of the sudden, I feel a wash of almost pain come over me. And it's like a sciatica in my back. And it hurts sometimes when I lift a lot. And I stopped. And all of a sudden, it felt like I left my body completely, right? In front of me stood these figures that were, and I basically what I did was I closed my eyes, right? And all of a sudden I was somewhere else, and these figures were standing there, and they kept telling me that they were my ancestors, and they were giving me information, lots of information, things that I thought I knew but didn't know. And I'm going to evaluate what these things are, and I'm going to detail them a little bit more than I am right now because there's a lot more to meditate on from this moment. And I have been meditating on it. Even before I went to work this morning, I stopped for a second and I meditated because usually I'll wait till I come home, I'll relax a little, whatever the case is. So I see one ancestor. I have a tiny bit of Native American in me. It was a Native American ancestor. He had a little bit of paint on his face, but it wasn't the paint that you usually see looking at ancient when you look at the ancients and the cultures. It was something a little bit different, right? It looked almost as if it was like a fire on their face, right? and it looked at me. I don't know if it was a male or female because I didn't see the definition except for the outlines of the actual, like, the physical person and their face. I couldn't get a clear read on their face, right? All I saw was the fire sort of paint. And I'm like, "Oh, man." And this ancestor told me that I had to dig into my roots more. There is something that I'm missing in my history or in my family history, which could also mean my past life history, that I'm not picking up on, that is super essential and important. Awesome. I'm down with that. I love diving in and digging in, right? Now, there's a couple of people here, and they're coming up one by one, and they're saying something to me. But some of the things that they said made no sense to me at the time. No sense. And I'm telling you, I must have had a conversation for about 40 minutes, back and forth, back and forth. And then I snapped back, and I had dropped the box that I was holding, and it fell on my foot, and I didn't even realize it. I didn't feel the pain, and my foot didn't hurt after that either. But I dropped the box on my foot, and I was like, "Oh, I must," and everything inside of it broke. There was all types of liquids leaking out of it. It was crazy, right? So the next I'm gonna go back into the dream state, right? And not I don't do that, but I'm telling you what else I was talking to the my ancestors about. There were some that looked almost Persian in nature with the ceremonial headdresses of the ancient Middle East, right? And this person was telling me that I had to find basically my inner pharaoh, right? My inner pharaoh is to come out, and my personality is to sort of shift and change. And I understood that. Sometimes when we do this for a while, it becomes, it's crazy you're saying that because I actually legit in this presentation or in this thing, I have a 7, right? I have 7s here. And I have the angel number of 7, and I described it on this piece of paper I'm looking at right now. So there was other ancestors that came to me, all telling me something that I'm going to get into a little bit later on when once I figure out exactly what it means. But this sense of shift when I came back was my back didn't hurt anymore. There was an air of lightness to my feet, and I felt like that I absorbed my ancestors, like they walked into me, right? And when they walked into me, it unlocked all these different sections of my memory. And as of the last few days, I've been processing these lives that I must have lived, or this is why I believe that it was my past life incarnations coming to me. At first, it might have been the ancestors, and there were ancestors there, but the ancestors are reflective of me as well. And that's where we start to get into this timeline shift. I even saw an entity that was a part of me from a different reality, and I communicated with it. And it almost looked Alpha Centauran, right? I talk about being an Alpha Centauran hybrid. It looked Alpha Centauran, whether it wasn't, and I know for a fact it wasn't a past life of mine because I asked it. I said, "Were you from my past?" And it said, "No, I'm from your like," and it kind of moved like it was showing me here, and then it said like over, right? And I'm like, that's dimensional, I guess, or whatever that is. And it was a lot. It was a lot to take in, and I'm processing a lot of it, and I'm meditating on a lot of it as well. But they were the ones who told me to come out and tell everybody about this shift. But they also said to ask all of you if you felt the shifts as well. So this episode is dedicated to the things that I saw while in the shifting process, I guess. It was the astral plane. It was. And the Akashic record was where they all poured out of. They came out in droves after a while. Like everybody was coming, and I saw a lot of different things. I saw different timelines. I was literally glimpsing into like the multiverse, and I was able to communicate and contact and I saw so many things, but when I came out of it, right? And I've done a past life regression for sure. I've done a few of them. I could tell you about a lot of them, but I think that there's more that I've on that have been locked away for a while, and I think that this is also giving me some of them, right? And what's happening is it's becoming more evident that this specific thing is going to be absolutely incredible, right? It's going to be incredible once I figure it all out. But it's all right. It's all right. It's okay. So, with all that, I feel like I've unlocked something inside of myself. And this something is going to come full throttle at me, right? It's going to come full throttle and I feel it. And the, it could be my future. It could be my future. That is absolutely, you're right on the money with that, Nancy. It very well might be, right? I felt like I was Doctor Strange with the arms coming out, and then boom, I'm in a different reality, right? And I think that there's something going on where certain people, I might have leveled up. I hope I did. But I think that there's certain people who are being given access to something multiversal, like multidimensional. And there's, from what I understood, there's only certain ones who will be unlocked in that way. Everybody has their moment, right? And it will happen for everybody, but some people are being unlocked now. And when they're unlocking, they're going to be able to sort of create these paths for others to unlock. We're sort of like the beta test, if you will. We're the beta test if this is going to make people crazy. And that's kind of what I was told. So I have to like dive into this information slowly and surely. I can't let it all like come out or I might go mad, right? And it, there's a lot of things that I'm seeing, and it's crazy because I came in contact with a coworker and I swore to God that I could see every moment that they had up until today. And then I focused a little bit harder and I saw different lifetimes for that person. It has unlocked something inside of me. You know, it's, I can't describe it. And there's something that's going to funnel into this show from this moment because I was given full permission to speak about everything that I'm seeing and recovering, and I'm working through it. I don't want to say things and be wrong, right? I don't want to say things and kind of come off the cuff and be like, nope, I have to correct that. So I'm being very cautious about how I let it out. Also, I may have to do an uncensored show to let some of it out because some of the things that they've showed me are yet to happen, could happen, maybe not, and the different variants of what that is. So it, if you see me right now and I'm distraught a little bit, it's because I am. Like I'm a little boggled by the archivist having disability. But then again, and I think about it, and I'm saying, you know what? This could be the ultimate archive, right? This could be something that is giving me access to create a more elaborate archive, which is what we're working on, right? And hopefully, this archive, when we get to the right moment, will be accessible to everybody at the touch of a button. Like, we're working on it. I'm telling you, we're a lot closer to that than you might think. But I'm working on it in the background. And there's a lot going on. And we're going to weed out what we need to say and what needs to be in the rearview mirror, right? We're gonna get that going. And one thing I kept seeing throughout that day was sevens. And I believe it was Bandit 420 said it, legit 420 said it before, legit B 420, sevens, right? So the last thing I did on this explanation was look up seven, right? Seven means you're ready for your spiritual path to open up. The number seven is intrinsically linked to the bigger picture, thinking deeper meanings and true wisdom, right? It's also highly spiritual and indicates a year of thinking, seeking, and asking higher questions. We may have to discover a new side of ourselves and we can remain more authentic with our interactions in the world, right? So 2023 is inherently a number that we're seeing. Seven is a number in 2023 that we're seeing a lot. It's the number seven in numerology, and the number seven rules over our connections with others and how we show up in our relationships. So, all I can say is stay tuned. There is some stuff that's going to come out, and I'm going to be breaking some things for sure, for sure. And me even talking about it right now is bringing flashes of things on, and I have to really sit back and evaluate it. But we're getting to the higher echelons of consciousness, and this is a sign of that, right? And I'm sure a lot of you have gone through this process too. There, while I say that there's a select number of people who are getting this unlock, almost, I bet you almost everybody in this community has gotten that unlock the same way. Now, you may be waiting to actually unlock it. And I'm telling you, if I didn't stop in the moment, I would have passed it and I would have breezed right through it. So be mindful of your perspective and always keep a little bit on the self and what's happening around you because this unlock is everywhere for everybody. It's the select few are beta testing it, but the select few includes everybody in this audience and everybody who's listening and following this because I'm telling you, and that's what they also told me by inherently giving this message out, you will give them the moments to unlock themselves. And that was a very big thing that a lot of the entities that I came into contact with told me. So I'm telling you, if it hasn't happened for you already, keep an eye out for it. Right. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So let me take a breath for a moment, take a sip of my coffee. We've got about 6 minutes left, but I think we're going to end it about here because we've talked a lot about stuff tonight. And here's the thing, right? I'm not here to cut anybody's free speech, but when people get crazy into the in the chat, like, and say things that are like so off the wall that it disrupts things, right? Like, I'm open to everything, right? Let's talk about everything. But when people start to be like ad hominem type stuff, especially to me, like, I don't care that you're saying it to me, but you're disrupting the people who are here and they're expecting to get, something out of this or expecting to hear something that's going to give them a kind of, a shot of energy. Like, you're hurting that. And I don't stand for that. And I don't like that. And I never really talk about the people who come in crazy off the chat because it's not really my place to do that. But Sep 26, if you could remove yourself from this channel, that would be absolutely incredible because I don't like what you had to say and I don't agree with you. And I think that you're an infiltrator, actually. I think you're here to infiltrate and to try and disseminate some of this audience and the people listening from their true purpose. And I don't like that. I don't like that. So if you could kindly see your way out, that would be great, right? And we're here to love each other. And if we can't stay within that, you know, I'm sorry. I feel for you and I will pray for you, I promise you. I promise that you find what you're looking for in the deep recesses of understanding and knowledge because you know, I just we're here to connect. That's our focus. And I hope we connect with each other and I want this to be the most forward community that can be brought together because we're all experiencing all of these crazy things. And if not for each other to tell them to, who can we tell them to, right? And that's why I say it here because I really, I really, really, it people become hesitant about saying these things because they're the fear of backlash or what people might say. But I hope we've ascended past that because I'm going to tell you everything and anything. What's going on, Nico? Good to see you. And we're going to do it together. We're going to do it together. Awesome. Thank you, Andromeda. Anyway, so with all that being said, please again help us help the world. Help us awaken the world. Like, share, subscribe, and when this is over, please leave a comment below. You have no idea how much that helps. Also, if you're inclined to, we have super chats on, and you can leave a super chat. That also helps with the algorithm. That is up to you. If anything, just pray for us. Help us by with prayer and in meditations. And we need to do a group meditation again. I think we're due for one, right? And I just want to tell you I love you all. Everybody here, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Tell yourself the same thing. Say it every day. Let go of those things that no longer service what your higher purpose is. It's time. It's our time. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. And if not us, then who's going to do it? I love you too, brother, right? If not us, then who? This information can be the activation for everybody and for anybody. We just have to bring it before them and hopefully they see it, right? So, thank you, Laura. It's good to see you. I'm glad you made it. With all that being said, DL, I see you too. And Ainsmouth, I see you. Awesome. Neo was here. I saw Neo. What's up? Ronnie made it. Awesome. And with all that being said, I love you all again. Remain in the highest frequencies of yourself that you can reside in and maintain stability. Keep it and resonate there as much as you can. Star Child, awesome. Awesome. Awesome to see you. It's been a while. Jay, awesome. Awesome. Everybody, I love you all, man. Let's do this. Let's get this done. It's up to us. So, with all that being said, my name is Rob Yox. This is Full Spectrum Universe. Have a great and abundant evening. I hope this message found you with love and abundance. Thank you all. Have a great night.